Alrighty, well, had the my tile guy come over today, and we kind of started getting a rough guesstimate of what's going on here. So I figured I'd start here at the beginning and kind of walk you through the rationale behind it. Big goal is get this wet spot drained. So we kind of planned everything around that. So basically right here where this flag is going to be the start, because through this swale right here is a 12-inch county drain. Well, you call it a county drain, but the county probably hasn't worked on it in 50 years. So Granddad actually fixed this tile, and it was clay, and then we put in 12-inch I think it's solid wall. I don't think there's actually any perforation in it, but it's for a 12-inch tile that goes through here and cuts in front of the house and goes back over the creek. So I'm gonna start here, then from here up to that last white flag, we're gonna run a 6-inch main, and then from here, hopefully you can see it, from this white flag to that pink flag is going to be a lateral. And then from that flag down to that flag is a lateral. And then from that flag to that flag is a lateral. And then the main is going to come down here to these double flags. And then from here down to that far white flag is going to be a 5-inch sub main. So this is going to be a 6-inch, the laterals are going to be 4s. This sub main is going to be a 5. And then the sub main, like I say, is going to run all the way down to that far white flag. And then to take care of, because it can't be a coincidence that all the wet spots in this field are in a straight line, which is another reason why I believe there's a damn spring running through here. That and the fact that this wet spot keeps getting bigger and moving. So, sorry for a shaky cam if it shows up. I'm kind of a little cold right now. It's only like 20 degrees. Should have threw my coveralls on, but I don't plan on being out here that long, and I'm going in the shop, so. But, and then from this flag down to, well, we put a flag here in the center for measuring and what purposes, but there's this flag here, and then all the way down there, I doubt you can see it, is a pink flag. That's going to be a lateral. There's going to be a lateral here, a lateral here, and then a lateral at that white flag, and those are going to run all the way down almost to the end of the field. And so that's going to take care of all the wet spots there and there. And then the way all the water flows in here, we shouldn't have to, even though that little square that we're missing is going to be wet, the way the water flows, that should all drain into this field down here, or into this grid down here, and that shouldn't need tiled. And then really from here over, there's nothing wet. As a matter of fact, I wish I could get half the water that ends up down here up on that hill, and that hill might actually grow something. But the biggest bitch, and this is why I will never again go around running tile to drain wet spots in the hopes that one day I'll eventually grid into it, is we got a tile that runs through this swale right here and ties into that county drain. And then, so basically we're going to end up cutting through it on 2 of these laterals. But what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and wherever we cut through it, or we may end up, depending on because we got, depending on how the depth works out, we're either going to cut through it or skip over top of it. If we skip over top of it, it doesn't matter, but if we cut through it, we're going to go in on top of the new tile we're putting in and put pea gravel. That way this tile will still have a way to dump into the new tile, but you don't want to tie in old tile with new tile, because if the old tile ever fails, which we put this tile in with an excavator and a laser, where this tile is getting put in with a bucket wheel tiling machine, which will be way more accurate. So if this tile that we put in ever fails, starts sucking dirt, you don't want that dirt to end up in the good tile system. So that's why you stone it. You don't actually tie it in with couplings and stuff. But the stone still gives the water coming out of this tile line a place to go, so that you don't end up with a new wet spot. But this tile goes over about to where we had to fix that septic drain earlier this summer, and then it Y's off and goes up on top of the hill. There's one wet spot on there because there's kind of a fishbowl that holds water, but we got that drained, so there doesn't need anything done up there. And then it goes down and cuts through and stops at the far side of the neighbor's garden. We ran it onto his property to help him drain his garden there. So that tile right there is going to get cut in 4 places when we run these laterals in, but it doesn't really mean much, because these laterals are going to take on any water that tile was taking before, and that tile never really did a good job anyway, because like I say, we basically just ran it to drain a wet spot. So it wasn't really laid out in an ideal situation to be able to take care of all the water in that area. So depending on how it works out, we may stone it, and so that it's got a way to dump into the laterals, or you may just say screw it and leave it cut, because once we get the new tile line in, it's not really going to do anything anyway. So I guess we'll just have to see how it works out. So hopefully he says in the next week or two, we should be able to get out here and get on it. Hopefully it works out, because I'm on second shift now. But this time I actually volunteered, and I like being on second shift this time of year. I don't expect him to come out here on the weekend just so that I can be here for it. And I told him that. I was like, if you can get out here during the week, get it done. I want it done. Do whatever you got to do. So, hopefully it works out. I'll at least be around in the morning so I can get video of it. Because them bucket wheel tiling machines or something else, they are cool as hell. Plus, he's bringing out his backhoe, and he said I could play with it a little bit if I wanted. So I'd like to kind of, because he's got a 2004 Case 590 Super M. It's a guy that Dad was rebuilding them cylinders for in that video, working on the Ripper. It's that same backhoe. And that is, a 590 is by no means a small backhoe. So I kind of want to be here to play with that a little bit. And if it works out right, hopefully we can get out here on Friday when I'm off, because we're working 410s. So hopefully he can get out here on a Friday and I can be here all day. But I'm not going to tell him, hey, I need you here on Friday. I told him whenever you can work it into your schedule. And then the other thing I talked to him about, which isn't going to happen this year, but if I have the money, I'd like for it to happen next year, is that field right there is going to get grid tiled. And when we do it, I'd like to lay it out in such a way we can put a baffle box in and I can do subsurface irrigation on it. Which is something, it's kind of a, I guess, new / not new technology. Subsurface irrigation isn't new, but doing subsurface irrigation with corrugated field tile is kind of new. So they've been doing it with stuff like drip tape for years, but drip tape's kind of a pain in the ass. Doing it with field tile makes really good sense if you got the right situation for it. So, which basically when you do subsurface irrigation with field tile, you go in and you tile it just like a regular field, but then at your outlet, you put in what's called a baffle box, and it's basically just that. It's a little square box with a gate in it. And when you need the field dried out, you go and you pull the gate and water drains, and then when you're, say you get into a dry spell or you're not going to have to be in the field for a few weeks, you go in there and you close the gate. It holds all the water back inside the tile, and you basically irrigate from the bottom up, which is way more efficient than pivot irrigation, where you're irrigating from the top down and you got a lot of loss due to evaporation. However, it's also very situational. If you got a bunch of sand ground, you're obviously not going to put in a bunch of field tile because you don't want to get rid of the water at all. So that's where pivot irrigation on sand ground makes a whole lot more sense than subsurface irrigation. But we talked a lot about that in college, and it's something I always wanted to try, and unfortunately they can do subsurface irrigation on hilly ground, but it's really expensive because basically on every lateral you got at a different elevation. You have to have a different baffle box, and you hold water on this level, and then you hold water on this level, and you hold water on this level. And normally on hilly ground, I mean around here there are hills that need tiled, but I don't have any hills that need tiled. I have hills that need irrigation. So, but that right there, that field is almost a perfect situation for subsurface irrigation because it all falls one way, and it's all basically the same grade, and it's all basically flat. So he seemed to think, and he's never put, the guy I'm having do this has always wanted to do some put in a subsurface irrigation system because he's almost as intrigued by it as I am, just to see if it does work like they say it's supposed to. And so yeah, he wants to do that almost as bad as I do, just to try it. But he's never had anybody that's A, been willing to do it, B, has the money to do it, or C, has the ground to do it. So, but anyway, that'll be a project for next year. This is the problem I want to get fixed this year. So anyway, that's where she stands for now. Like I say, hopefully within the next week and a half, 2 weeks, I'll have a video of them out here tiling. So, but we got more projects in between then and now, so, or now and then, so we will see how it all plays out. I guess that does it for this one. I'll catch you all on the next one.